Einstein discovered the secret to eternal life, but this secret is more terrifying than death. The faster you travel, the slower time passes for you. Sounds like a great deal, right? But the universe doesn't give you something for nothing. If you take a light-speed ship to Proxima Centauri, only a few months will have passed for you, but decades will have gone by on Earth. When you return, everyone you knew has grown old. This isn't science fiction, it's a script written by the laws of physics. In 1971, scientists placed atomic clocks on airplanes and flew them around the Earth. Upon landing, time had indeed slowed down by a few billionths of a second, but it was enough to prove Einstein was right. The faster the speed, the greater the discrepancy. When approaching the speed of light, a single day for you is a year on Earth. Scientists have calculated that if we were to colonize the galaxy, the time gap between astronauts and Earth would be tens of thousands of years. The country you left behind would have long ceased to exist. Interstellar travel is not an adventure. It is an exile, a permanent solitude sentenced by the laws of physics. But loneliness isn't even the most desperate part. What is truly crushing is that you simply cannot get off the ground. It's not that our technology is insufficient, it's that mathematics is mocking you. In 1903, Russian scientist Tsiolkovsky wrote down the rocket equation. This equation is like a death warrant. For a rocket to fly fast, it must carry fuel. But fuel has weight. The more fuel you have, the heavier the rocket, requiring even more fuel just to move the fuel itself. It's like crossing a desert while carrying your own water. The heavier the water, the slower you walk, and the slower you walk, the more water you need. It is an inescapable, vicious cycle. Someone once did the suffocating math. To accelerate a ship to 10% of the speed of light, the fuel required would be hundreds of thousands of times the ship's weight. What does that mean? A 2-ton car would need to carry the entire Mount Everest just to start moving, and that's just for 10%. At 50%, the fuel requirement becomes hundreds of millions of times greater. At 90%, the entire mass of the Earth wouldn't be enough. At the speed of light, all the matter in the universe combined couldn't push a single grain of sand. Even more bizarre is the gravity well. Earth is a deep well, and we live at the bottom. To climb out, you need 112 kilometers per second. This is called escape velocity. Sounds manageable, right? But that's just climbing out of the shallow pit of Earth. The solar system is a much deeper trap. Escaping the sun requires 42 kilometers per second, and the galaxy, 550 kilometers per second, and you cannot let your speed drop. The moment you slow down, gravity drags you back. It's like throwing a stone up from the bottom of a well. No matter how hard you throw it, it will eventually crash back down at your feet. But wait, it's not just physics that traps us. Your own body is betraying you. In 2015, NASA released a chilling report. Astronaut Scott Kelly spent 340 days on the space station. When he returned to Earth, his legs were so swollen he couldn't stand. After examining him, the doctors gasped in shock. His bones were losing 1% to 2% of their density every month. That's as much as an elderly person on Earth loses in a year. His muscle mass had atrophied by 20%, his eyeballs had deformed, and his vision was blurred. Most bizarrely, his gene expression had permanently changed. 7% of his gene activity patterns were completely different from his twin brothers. The same genes, the same blood. After 340 days, they had become two different people, and that was within the protected environment of a space station. What would happen during decades of interstellar drifting? In 2019, the European Space Agency conducted a terrifying simulation. In deep space, without the protection of a magnetic field, cosmic rays act like invisible machine guns. High-energy particles bombard your cells at near-light speed, with every single particle tearing through your DNA. Over the course of a year, this is equivalent to undergoing 0 chest X-rays. Within 5 years, your cancer risk doubles. Within 10 years, your brain begins to collapse. Memory loss, dulled reactions, and emotional instability set in. Scientists call this space dementia. Before you have even flown out of the solar system, you will have already forgotten why you left. Some might suggest simply building thicker shielding. In 2020, Engineers at Purdue University put this to the test. The conclusion silenced everyone. To completely block cosmic rays, you would need 2 meters of lead plating. For a manned spacecraft, the shielding alone would weigh thousands of tons of dead weight. To propel this iron coffin, how much fuel would you need? We are right back in the vicious cycle of the rocket equation. You increase the shielding weight, which increases the total mass, requiring even more fuel, and that extra fuel adds even more weight. Every path leads to despair. An even more desperate shackle is thermodynamics. In 1824, French engineer Sadi Carnot discovered the universe's most cold-blooded law. Heat can only flow from high temperatures to low temperatures, and it can never be reversed. What does this mean? Every engine has a ceiling on its efficiency. Even the most ideal heat engine cannot exceed 60% efficiency, and in reality, chemical rockets only manage 30% to 40%. Even if we used nuclear fusion, the efficiency of converting mass to energy is only 7%. The remaining energy is all lost as waste heat, dissipating into the darkness. It is like trying to buy something with $100, only to have $70 evaporate instantly. You can only ever spend 30. This is not a technical problem. This is the underlying code of the universe. The second law of thermodynamics states it clearly. Entropy always increases, energy always dissipates, and order is always collapsing. Any spacecraft you build, from the moment it leaves the factory, is already on the path to disintegration. In 2018, materials scientists at MIT conducted a sobering study. They tested humanity's strongest materials, including carbon nanotubes, graphene, and metallic glass. The question was, how long could they last? The answer: metals suffer from fatigue and cracking, plastics become brittle and crumble, and electronic components are fried by radiation. The most optimistic estimate is that a perfectly maintained spacecraft has a lifespan of no more than 200 years. Yet, flying out of the solar system takes tens of thousands of years. Even if you overcome all technical hurdles, there is an even more insidious trap: information isolation. Light is the fastest messenger in the universe, but it takes over 4 years for light to travel from Earth to Proxima Centauri. You send a message, and it takes 4 years for the other side to hear it. A reply takes another 4 years. A single conversation takes 8 years. By the time you say, "I have arrived at Earth," the president back home may have already changed twice. This is not communication. This is talking to yourself across an abyss of time. What about flying to the edge of the galaxy? A one-way signal takes 26,000 years. By the time your message reaches Earth, it will be older than the history of the pyramids, and by then, there might be no one left to answer. In 2022, astronomers at the University of California used computers to simulate human colonization of the galaxy. Assuming we successfully established bases on 1,000 planets, the conclusion was chilling. Within a few generations, these bases would lose contact entirely. Languages would diverge, cultures would fracture, becoming 1,000 isolated civilizations that no longer recognize each other. Your descendants and their descendants might become more alien to each other than extraterrestrials. This is the most suffocating truth of all. The universe doesn't just trap us here. It has meticulously designed a perfect system of isolation. The rocket equation makes takeoff a distant dream. The gravity well makes escape a mere fantasy. Radiation turns the body into ruins, and entropy turns the spacecraft into a coffin. The speed of light turns communication into a monologue. Every lock is intricately connected. You solve one, and another tightens its grip around your throat. It is like being trapped in a transparent cell. You can see the stars filling the sky outside. You can guess that there might be others in neighboring cells, but you can never walk out. By the time their voices drift into your ears, they are already echoes from tens of thousands of years ago. But then again, perhaps this is the universe's greatest act of kindness. In 1950, physicist Enrico Fermi asked a question: if extraterrestrials exist, where are they? With hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way and a universe 138 billion years old, why is it so deathly silent? Perhaps the answer lies right here, Every civilization is locked at home by the same constraints. No invasions, no wars, no consumption, only quiet growth and eternal solitude. The Milky Way has 400 billion stars, each one potentially holding a story. We may never be able to pay a visit, but simply looking up is enough to leave us in awe for a lifetime. These locks are not necessarily a curse. Sometimes they are a form of protection. They force us to cherish the blue planet beneath our feet. They tell us that the distance is a sight to behold, but home is where we stand. We are trapped in the Milky Way, not because of failure, but because Einstein discovered the secret of the universe's limits. This was always meant to be our only universe. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through science, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. See you in the next exploration with Quantara Atlas.